I'm excited for you.
It's a good
Mariah was telling me though, she was like, dude, I'm so excited for you.
Okay, well, let's get started because I want to hear what Mariah has to say. Okay, welcome to Time to Process. You guys, I have such a special guest with me today. First of all, it is literally my first male guest. I was just telling him that. This is my nephew, Brody. He is clearly one of the most fun people you would ever be around ever. You give the best bear hugs.
Oh my gosh.
Literally like break your back bear hugs.
Oh gosh. It's like Gabe. Like honestly, Gabe, I mean, he's a bear and a half. He's got at least a foot on like a foot of height on me too. So he can really embrace you.
Yes, he can. I know. That my oldest son, Gabe. Yes, we've talked about him before. Okay, so we just to get started, quick life update. Honestly, we're like at the beginning of the new year. It's been really hard getting back into work. I was just telling Brody, and I don't know. I'm like, it's just weird. I feel like the weather's been weird. We have all these fires in California. There's like snow in Dallas. Like
it's nuts.
We're going to hell in a handbag. Like what is happening? Like this is freaking crazy.
Oh, it's pretty wild. And you know what's crazy is normally like the gyms are slammed. I'm like, what's going on? It's like an anomaly.
Is it not been?
Not at 1600. I'm like, at least the times that I go, 1600 bucks. I'm like, dude, there's like it's like Desolation Canyon. Yeah, weird. Like,
okay, so
everything's weird about this year.
But when I always go super early. But I feel like our gym has been super busy.
Slammed.
Yeah, like slammed. And I feel like all of a sudden there was like multiple treadmills missing. I'm like, this is not the time to take treadmills away. Like you need to be adding to them because when I go there, I'm like, I have to like wait.
Oh, jeez.
And it's so annoying because I'm like, I don't want to do the stair stepper. I don't want to do any of that crap.
Like,
you know what I did start using though? Is a weighted vest.
Did you really?
Yes, a 12-pound one.
Gosh, you're like rooking here.
No.
You're like David Goggins.
Okay, but like I literally, in fact, one of my clients told me about a book yesterday. I need to read it, like all the details of it. But I have heard nothing but amazing things about wearing weighted vests.
It does it. I mean, there's no shame in it. I know guys that will get multi purposes here, but like actual like body armor stuff that they like like train with, but then they actually go to the gym and wear it so that they can on the treadmill to get conditioned to it too.
Yes.
Like
officers, like things
officers,
like that.
Yeah, officers. Okay. A lot of guys in the in that space, you know, they do a lot of training and stuff like that. And you know, it's pretty interesting.
There is some that I have actually seen at the rec center because I just go to the rec center here in Springville. But and he wears one like running around the track. So I don't know what he is. I don't know if he's like an officer, if he's like military or what.
Hey, that's a guy you don't want to find out.
No. 100%. I'm like, I'm gonna stay over here. But I mean, in case something goes down, I'm glad you're here. Okay, so Brody, like I said, is my nephew. He has been in real estate for how long now?
Oh, it's been about 4 years. Actually, next month will be 4 years.
Has it been that long?
Yeah, that's nuts. It's been an aggressive trajectory, which has been awesome. So very blessed.
Maybe
there.
That's why it feels like it's gone like so fast.
Yeah.
But, and he is also married to literally one of my favorite people. We are giving a shout out to Mariah because
She's listening to this right now.
I know. Sure. I literally could not do life without her. Even though we don't talk as often as I would like. I don't know. She just like you could not have married a better human. Like she is. She is the pedestal, and I put everyone against her.
Dude, she's an absolute rock star.
Have some amazing people that have married into our family. Like we are very, very lucky.
Well, it's
all of you, yes, but Mariah is amazing. Yes, I know. Once you're in, you can't get out. You cannot get out. You're not.
I don't think anybody's exited. No. So I'm just saying. Now that I think about it, I don't think there's been one split up in the whole.
No, there
hasn't. No, like once you're in, you're locked in.
Yeah,
there's no escape.
Yes. I know. Honestly.
There may or may not be a blood oath that's done in the back room.
Or if you do, then we have to kill you because you know too much. Like it's literally not an option.
Oh man, the Sopranos here.
Yes,
you know?
yes, I know. Okay, so since I'm having a male guest on for my first time, I am going to have other ones. Andrew said he would come on, and
wonderful.
There's a few other people, but I told my brother too, and he was like, "I'm not really sure what we talk about." I'm like,
"He'd kill it.
We can literally talk about everything."
He would kill it.
I know.
He would do great. Yeah.
But anyway, so instead of doing some of my 5 favorite things, I did some of my husband's favorite things.
Oh, I love that.
So things that like, you know, some of you men can kind of like relate with, if you will. Okay, so we'll give it a quick rundown. We won't go through these for too long. But okay, tell me actually first, what's your favorite cologne? What do you wear?
My favorite cologne, actually, you know, That's kind of funny. I'm actually not a big cologne guy, which is kind of weird.
Really?
I've never explored.
Totally
There's one that my buddy Bronson always wears, and it's like I think it's like an Armani or something like that. That just it's just
okay.
It's lights out. But
it's really good.
I'm like, if I were to be a cologne guy, that would be it. So like, you give him a hug and you hold him a little bit longer. You know?
Listen, there's no shame in that.
There's no shame in it.
I am 100% like a person who, like, I'm always like, oh, what are you wearing? Like, especially when clients come in, I'm like, oh my gosh, that smells amazing.
That's one thing is I appreciate it.
Yes.
Here's the thing. I'm like borderline homelessly looking, so I'm like, if they see me with some cologne, they're like, man, this is really throwing off the perspective here, the perception here.
Listen, with a wife like yours, you'll never be homeless. I promise you.
That's true.
She's a freaking babe, and she keeps everyone in line.
She freaking crushes it for sure.
Like, I'm always asking her, I'm like, what are you wearing on your face? Like, in fact, I need to have her come on. Do you think she'd come on?
I'm pretty sure Mariah would, dude. She would love it. She'd probably go off on about cooking and stuff like that.
Oh, I know. That's
she crushes it.
We could literally talk about her orange rolls till the cows come home.
Oh, it's wild, dude.
Unreal.
And she's hyper efficient too. That's the thing. So she'll be doing like she'll literally like when she was doing all those orange rolls, which our family has like orange roll recipe or whatever that's like really, 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 really big. So she'll knock out and she'll spend 2 days working on those.
I know. And then she's like, it's no big deal. And we're like, yes, we know it's a huge deal.
For this, she literally bought an $800
her
mixer. Yep. Yes. And then that way she can knock out, because with the Bosch, she can only do what?
Oh, I don't know.
It's like two worth of like, I think it's like 2 batches, right?
Yeah.
With this one, she can knock out like 6 to 8.
Oh,
and so she's like, efficiencies is better, but then also, I didn't realize this, but she showed me the difference. Like she did a batch in the Bosch, and then a batch in this. It's some Swiss name, whatever. But
she was telling me about it, and I was like,
well, you can even feel the difference. Like one was like way more airy, which is that really nice one, and then the other one was a little bit more dense. It's the same dough, and I'm like. Just even the way it mixes.
It's probably just the way it whips it, like where it almost like incorporates air into it or something.
I don't know. I don't understand the science behind it. It's freaking Europeans, but like they did something right.
I literally know nothing about baking. In fact, if I like need something done, I ask Ruby to do it.
Dude, I think it's a play.
Like she loves it. Yeah, or Tessa.
Tessa's way good.
I know, she's amazing. Yeah, for sure. Like that's what I'm saying, guys. We have the best people in our lives.
Oh man, I'm telling you, if you need someone, if you need some financial advice, you need a body buried, or you need a haircut, we can arrange something. We got someone there.
Okay, you have to listen to the podcast with Tessa and Abby.
I am going to
talk about cadavers.
Oh geez, I can see Tessa getting way amped about that.
Because Abby had to do like anatomy, and I was like, "Where are we getting these cadavers from?" And she's like, "Oh, we have like 14. 14. That is 14 dead people who were sure, you can cut me open after I'm dead."
Well,
what?
Here's a field trip we did in high school. I was in an advanced biomed class.
Oh my gosh.
And let's put it this way. Why did you it was really, really, really fun. But I'll be real with you. I delegated quite a bit of the work. So I was definitely not qualified. I will never be a doctor. Let's just put it that way. But they took us to Washington, WSU's campus, and they have one of the largest cadaver labs there, at least in the state of Washington. That's what and you go in there, and it was massive. I mean, it was multiple stories, and it was actually pretty interesting to see the difference between like what you anticipate, like when you see like a bicep versus a tricep. Like everybody focuses on the bicep, and you go there, and it's like, I don't know, the size of like, I don't know, like basic, like a candy bar, right? And then the tricep is like the whole length of the humerus, and you're like, just seeing the difference. You're like, I really put that much focus on that. That's kind of impressive
compared to.
And then so then it actually kind of shifted my way of like actually like.
Probably thinking like working out.
Yeah, working out wise, and you understood the anatomy a lot more and how like where things started to kind of connect. It was kind of interesting. Like you'd be playing with the. You play with the nerve, like they had like an arm, right? They give you an arm, and you're like holding this arm, and then you're like playing with the nerves and like bending the fingers, and like grabbing each other with it. It was kind of gross.
I cannot. Like that is not. I actually love like learning about, like you can tell me it, but if I saw it, I'd been like, no.
Oh yeah, it's pretty weird.
Literally not.
It's definitely weird, and especially when you see people with tattoos, it makes it more real. You're like,
yes.
It definitely makes you.
Hey, I need to do some research. If anyone is listening and you have any information on cadavers and how that comes about, I really do legitimately want to know, because I think that's wild.
It's pretty wild. It's pretty wild. I'm sure Abby and Tessa went all off on that.
No, they're hilarious.
I mean,
Tessa
it is
I thought she was going to pass away with how hard her class was.
Dude.
Tessa just has the funniest stuff.
Oh, dude, she's consistent.
She's
consistent.
She is so funny.
Oh, man.
I'm currently, my hands are so dry. I'm currently bleeding. Sorry, I keep licking my arm.
You got a Band-Aid on there too. You okay?
And that too. Yeah, no, I just cut myself constantly. It's fine. No big deal. Okay,
emo, an emo ant here.
I know. This was literally on a hanger. A plastic hanger.
Well,
I know. I'm
if it were me, Brian knows this, but I feel like everything that if I get a cut, it infects immediately.
Yes.
I have to amputate. I get a pimple on my arm. I got to amputate from the shoulder down. It's the craziest thing.
It's so crazy.
So, I don't understand.
Very sensitive skin.
No.
Okay, his favorite cologne, or my favorite of his, is Burberry Hero.
Okay.
It is one though that if you're not a big cologne person, it's a perfect everyday scent. It's fresh, clean, but it's not citrusy. It's not too dark or musky. It's just the perfect cozy scent.
If it reflects his style,
I know.
Well, I've been telling you, if his style had a scent, and that's the smell, man.
Okay, but this is the thing: is he does not he's always, I feel been a really good dresser and all of that. But nowadays, I really do buy the majority of his clothes, and he's very picky about this doesn't feel comfortable and this and that. So he really does return 90% of what I buy. But
that's hilarious.
But every now and again I get some good ones. But no, he does do dress great. I don't know why he doesn't think in his own.
Oh, he's dialed. I've always asked him for style tips, because I'm like, dude, can you just whatever you buy, just buy two? Yeah.
So you mean whatever I buy, I'll buy two?
Yeah, I need you to just do my wardrobe for me, because Mariah, this is a blessing, because if I didn't have her, I'd look like a mess. But I mean, most of the stuff I end up wearing to the gym doesn't even match. And she's like,
what are you doing?
You're gonna go in public like that?
That's what I'm saying. Literally, your wife.
And I'm like, you know what? I did not think about that. You're right.
Yeah, you're right.
Blue and green just does not match. It's not working. I should have thought through that a little bit better.
Well, my thing is I have to lay it out the night before, because Aaron's always asleep, because I go early in the morning.
Oh, that makes
sense. So if I don't, then I'll for sure be wearing wonky stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I can't see.
Oh, yeah. I'm in with a flashlight in my closet.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 100%. 100%. Man. Okay, so Burberry Hero, love. It's such a fantastic scent. It's one I literally, if any of my girlfriends are hey, what should I get for my husband? I'm it's Burberry Hero. It's fantastic. I could actually give you, I said, 7 different ones. But that one is by far my favorite. Okay, he's a big bracelet guy. Always has been.
Yeah.
He loves, there's a brand, there's a couple brands I've already talked about, on our favorite things. But this one he loves. It's called Mansion, but it's spelled with 2 S's. So MANSSION.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, it's fantastic. Lots of beads, that type of a thing. But they have so many different styles. They have a few leather ones. But they're good because they have good clasps. I feel clasps are key.
Oh, it's totally key.
And if they're not good clasps, then
well, Sean's pretty good about that.
Yes.
Sean with Forge, he's big into that. He's you definitely need to make sure that. That's a shout out to Sean.
I know. Well, I talked about them yesterday on Instagram.
Oh, he's the best.
One of my favorite things last week.
Oh,
or
I'm not even
joking. And Abby were
well, we just bought 2 necklaces from him, and then we've done a couple rings from him.
Yeah.
He's taking care of so many of my
best.
Clients too. Yeah. He's my guy. Sean, shout out to Sean. He kills it.
He's amazing. Have you been down to their new store then?
I have not. We were man, we were kind of should we have bought those necklaces now?
Oh yeah.
I feel like we have to go buy something now that we have to go visit them. You know?
Totally. I know. I want to go in there, but I'm can I just go in there and browse and not actually buy anything?
Yeah.
I know. Well, I talked about my mother's ring. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but I ended up doing 5 different rings.
Oh, cool.
So. 4. One of them has 2 stones for the twins.
Okay, that's cool.
And then one for Gabe, one for Dylan, and then I did another one that has 4 baguette diamonds.
Oh,
so
that's
then I can
cool.
Stack them all together. They're the really thin gold ones. Anyway,
yeah, that's cool.
Forge, they're amazing. We love.
And it's all custom jewelry. We did a little. So my baby's name is Scotty. She's an absolute angel.
She's so
10 months.
Cute.
I've been taking her to. It was hilarious. I've been taking her to showings and everything like that.
Did you really?
It's so fun, dude.
The other day when you posted that video.
Yeah, I was like, this is kind of fun. It is pretty fun. I will say this. I feel bad for anybody that's like newly married or like, engaged.
Yeah.
You have like the husband that's like, oh yeah, let's look into the house, and then you bring Scotty, and then you hand her off to like the fiance.
Woman, yeah.
She's like, we need one of these. I'm like, oh man, you're in trouble.
Basically, you're selling houses and you're populating.
Dude, sales is all about emotions.
Yep.
Sales is all about emotions.
100%.
That's the secret.
Yep.
So you bring the baby. She does the closing for me.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
But
funny.
what we did with her is we got a little from Mariah. We got a necklace with her. It has an S. Yeah, okay. And then it has like a. It's kind of cool that Sean put her gemstone.
Oh, her birthstone.
Her birthstone.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's essentially like a mother's necklace, is what they call it.
Exactly right. So pretty cool. I'm like,
dude, that's like such a good timing.
Oh, it's perfect. It was perfect. Perfect timing.
No, love it. That's
just got it back actually right before Christmas, so it worked out pretty good.
Yeah, that's amazing. Okay, so the next one is a pair of shoes. This is one I literally had bought for Aaron, and I was like, this could either be a total fail, or a total win. And luckily, he loved them. It was the Nike Metcons.
Oh, those are awesome.
Do you know what those are?
I do. I actually have a pair.
It kind of has like a weird, the weird texture on the bottom, and he's kind of funny. He's like, those look, they look weird. And on the side, this, and again, he's really picky. But
and depending on the Metcons, what's cool about those is the Metcons have been notorious, and Noble, but notorious for the CrossFitter space, just because the reason
they're flat on the bottom.
They're flat, and it's flat where the ball of your foot is, right? And the reason why is the stability that you need for some of those movements. And so they have like the Metcon Freeze, where it allows you to move a little bit, but the idea for those Metcons is it's really planted, really secure, for those specific CrossFit movements. A lot of
which is interesting because I don't think I even knew that. I did know that with CrossFit you need like a flat shoe or like just lifting in general. But his thing is he doesn't have an arch. He has like a pretty flat foot. So there's a ton of shoes, which I was shocked because I just wear. I'm like, I don't care if it hurts my foot. I'll still wear it, right? Like beauty is pain. Like no, I love these shoes, so I'm going to wear them no matter what. But to him, he's like, no, it hurts my foot if I wear it.
I'm the same way as Aaron on this.
Crazy.
I'm the same. I have a couple pairs of like some Air Maxes that I've worn because the break-in period's like months.
Yep, Aaron.
But when it breaks in, it's great. But my gosh, sometimes I get like a month and a half in, and I'm like, these are still not working. And I pace a lot. You got to keep in mind.
You do, yeah.
So
which is also a Smith trait.
100%.
Oh my gosh, when Aaron's on the phone, I'm like, just sit down.
I am
like you're
Aaron and I
are
the same. 1,000%. Like if you notice though, you'll see there's a couple pairs of shoes that I have. But you'll notice, so when I pace at my office, I pace everywhere. I can be in the middle of a winter storm and I'm walking down like on top of concrete barriers in a parking lot, balancing on one foot, taking calls. That's what I do. But in the office, I pace counterclockwise. So
what?
I pace. I don't know. I didn't intentionally
how
do
do you
this.
realize? I was gonna say, how do you realize it's counterclockwise?
My shoes are slightly slanted.
No.
If you look on a couple of pairs of my shoes, my heels are slightly slanted because I pace at a pace, and I actually have a good, kind of pace to it.
Sure.
And I go around, and it's pretty funny. My office is shaped like a figure eight. It's a pretty large office, but there's like a middle part, right? And so I pretty much just circle around that half that figure eight, and then I'll go down to the basement in the large training room. Like we have a huge classroom downstairs, like huge.
Yeah.
It's like basically half the building. And I'll go down there and I just pace around and I'm
while you're
on the phones. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That's what I do. I
don't know how many steps you take.
I bet you money.
You need to get an Apple Watch.
I've thought about it because I'm like, I'd probably get at least 3 miles worth of pacing a day.
Oh, 100%. Well, you say, I think most, they say you need to have like 10,000 steps a day.
Oh, easy.
If you pace that much, you probably have like at least 20,000.
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised. You'll see it. You'll see it. It's pretty fun. But like when I do the figure eight upstairs, like everybody knows when I'm on the calls. And I have a pretty, like my voice
they
carries.
Can, hear you
yeah.
too.
Oh, yeah. Well, they can hear me as soon as I get in the building. So then
gosh.
as soon as I start getting on the phones, everybody just shutting their doors. And you'll hear it like almost in sync.
They know. So funny. But again, this is why you're like such a fun, big personality, because this is just who you are.
Oh, it's so fun.
I could see that. But I feel like that's a must though for your job.
Oh, I love it. That's all.
It's all like just talking to people.
100%.
For sure. Okay, so yes, Nike Metcons, huge
awesome.
fan. Love them. I personally haven't worn them, but
yeah.
yes.
Well, if you do that, I'd say another really good shoe that I've really enjoyed. That's kind of one that not very many people have. So if you're one of those people that doesn't like to have what everybody has,
yes,
this is probably a pretty good shoe for you. It's the
believe it or not, everyone's going to buy it now that we're talking about
probably. I think this one is, and it depends on the year too, but actually the Rocks Under Armour shoes.
Oh, I don't even know what those are.
That's what I'm saying. I think it was the version 2 is the one that I had that I really
it's literally called the Rocks, and is it like ROCK?
Like we're talking about like Dwayne the Rock Johnson, like the bull shoes, right?
Okay,
so
yeah.
That was probably one of my favorite workout shoes. I wore them literally till I literally tore the fabric from the
actual sole of the shoe.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
From training just so hard with those.
But are they like super comfortable? Like you can wear like all day long? Like
yeah.
Okay.
I'd say that was, but if you were to go like trainer, like I'm actually going to go do some serious damage in the gym. That's probably my shoe of choice.
Interesting.
And I've been working out for a long time.
Yeah.
Right now I'm kind of gooey, but
everyone,
that's okay.
Oh my gosh, stop. Because you go to the gym and talk for 2 hours.
I do. It's bad. I seriously. So most of my business actually comes from the gym.
I hear nothing but that. Because Josh and Lauren see you at the gym, Gabe sees you at the gym. Like everyone that is like, I see Brody at the gym, and he's always just talking to me.
Always, everybody knows it too. And I have some buddies that are close friends that will like low key. I know they're avoiding me.
Yeah, because they don't want to talk. They're like, I need to get my.
Or they'll be like, I run a call or whatever
on
the headphones, and I'm like, I don't blame them because that's honestly that's where like all the opportunity comes from. I mean, but here's the secret that I say to it because. The secret of opportunity, creating opportunities, you got to be in the place of opportunity, right?
Sure,
so you have a mix. I mean, I got guys from NASA to venture capital to freaking janitors to firemen, gunsmiths. I mean, you name it, any sort of industry, every single, like all of it. I mean, we can get into this a little bit later, but one of my favorite people I ever met, he owns multiple tech companies and stuff like that. Just average dad guy that well, I shouldn't say average, his calves are insane. Okay, but anyways, the guy's awesome.
Perfect. He has great calves.
Yeah, great calves, right? So, I mean, you just have such a variety, and it puts you in a space where it doesn't matter who it is, whatever background. It allows you to connect with these people, and that's what gets me amped. So it's kind of it's easy.
That is why I do a podcast. You and I are so similar in that way.
Oh yeah.
To where we can just. I love talking to people. I just want to know everyone's story. I wish I could sit at a desk and have people just line up, and not necessarily line up, make an appointment, just to come sit down. Let's just talk for 30 minutes. Tell me about yourself.
Well, this is perfect.
That's what I mean. That's why I'm like, this is why I'm doing a podcast. Listen, if you want to be on the podcast, let me know. Because I'm taking applications.
I freaking love that.
I love that. But Kate, that's good to know. I'll actually link those shoes as well because I want to look them up and
I think they're great. I'll have to show you. I think it's the version 2 is my favorite. Okay. Version 1s, I think, were also really good, but the version 2s were
probably just that much better.
Yeah, I just felt like they just cinched on the foot so much better.
Mm-hmm. No slip.
The grip was good, and I didn't roll my ankles or anything like that. And I noticed with some of these taller shoes, you'll see guys at the gym with Nike 270s. I have a pair of Nike 270s.
Are those the Air Max?
They have the air bubble on the back.
Yeah, that Milo is obsessed with.
They're awesome, but if you're gonna go train, actually get after it, you're destined for a broken ankle, right? So I would say there's certain stuff that really amplifies your experience, if that makes sense. You get the most out of it. I'd probably say those are probably my favorite. If I were to go do a CrossFit Games, I would actually probably pick that shoe.
That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah. But if I'm going to be doing deadlifts and stuff like that, and obviously CrossFit has a lot of deadlifts, so you're going to get called out for that. But I actually end up either get elevated wood platform shoes specifically for that, squatting and deadlifts. Okay. Or I'm one of those guys that will just take the shoes off.
Yeah, I feel like Gabe does a lot of that.
Yeah, Gabe's all about that.
And just flat feet, which freaks me out because I'm I feel like every time he sends us videos, I'm you're really stressing me out because I feel like your socks are just gonna go.
Yeah, I mean that's
it's definitely. He has 500 pounds that he's.
Oh, he's doing it.
I don't know. It's so crazy. I haven't really heard. I love him so much. Well, he is my baby, but when he sends me videos, I'm I don't know if I can watch this. You're really stressing me out.
Yeah, I remember when he started. I was there. I remember when he could barely. I don't even know if he. I think he was barely getting like 2 plates or something like that. Now he's throwing 500 pounds around. I was like, it wasn't like, I'm talking about, it wasn't like, it's not like this has been consecutive multiple years. We're talking about like within 6 months he was doing that. He just he dove into it pretty aggressive.
He did. Listen, if there's anything I can say about my children, when they get honed in on something, they are honed in and they cannot think about anything else. Which sometimes I love and sometimes I'm like, you've got to stop. So,
I freaking love it.
Anyway, okay, so then another pair of shoes then, because based on his feet and the comfort level, but this is more of a fashion style, is Sorel boots.
Oh, dude.
So did you guys know that Sorel makes more than like winter snow shoes? Like I've owned Sorel snow boots for probably 10 or 11 years.
Oh, wow.
Because clearly I don't wear them very often. Maybe I don't know, once a year. And so they lasted forever, but they have basically like a very trendy kind of a work boot.
Oh, wow.
But it looks business professional.
Well, I believe
they
it.
are.
If Aaron's wearing it, it's good.
Yes,
let's just put it that way.
With you. If Aaron's wearing it,
it is what it is.
Yes,
I didn't kind of mean this. I've literally said this multiple times. If you buy something, make sure you add a second.
Okay.
I'm serious about that.
I'll start sending some links.
Yeah, I'm like at this point, I'm gonna need to go I'm gonna go sell some more houses.
I know. Which again, I literally buy all of his clothes. He does buy jeans because jeans I feel like are hard. Every time I buy jeans, he's like, "These don't work." I'm like, "Okay, then you're on your own." But I pretty much buy.
What does he do for jeans? Because I've literally just ripped through my last pair of jeans.
Oh, that's the thing is, honestly, they are so hard because he's like, they need to be a soft jean. They can't be too heavy. He really has a lot of parameters.
I freaking love
but
that.
if you want a money one,
okay,
Mavi.
Okay, yeah.
I don't even know if that's how you say it.
It's like over at Nordstrom.
Or even at Nordstrom Rack, I find them all the time. Mavi or Paige. Okay, Paige was insane. But again, Nordstrom Rack, I love a good deal. I talk about this all the time.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm always looking at Nordstrom Rack. In fact, let me tell you about this shirt.
I was going to say, I don't care if it's a box of crayons. I'm getting a deal.
I know. No, this shirt, I found it at Nordstrom Rack. It was so random. I found it last week, extra 25% off sale.
Oh, wow.
I looked at the tag, and it was still like $40. And I was like, okay, well, 25% off. Anyway, but I looked at the tag. This shirt is originally like $320.
Oh, my God.
$320.
It looks really nice.
And I literally got it for like $35. No, it was 40 and then 25% off that. So whatever that is.
I mean, that's a win to me.
That's a win. That's like $30.
The math equals win.
I know.
Yeah.
Anyway, so again, I'm like big fan. But okay, so Mavi and Paige are some of his favorite. We also love Joe's.
I love Joe's jeans.
So soft.
I had a pair. Actually, just the Mave were the ones.
Mavi? Yeah. I don't even know. Mavi, I have no idea.
They were awesome. I finally went through it. My thighs are just, unfortunately, like, it's horrible. They rub.
Because you lift. You are a big worker-outer.
Oh, man, it's horrible. But it's like right where my thighs rub together. That's where they rip, like clockwork.
Well, yeah. Well, especially if you're having a softer jean. It's not like a thick material. So
so I go through it
just right through it. It's so interesting.
It's freaking frustrating.
But I know Gabe has said the same thing. But like last year, I bought like 10 pairs of jeans, and I was like, try them on, and whatever ones you like, keep, and then whatever ones you don't like, we'll take back or whatever. Gabe was like, oh, I like every single one. I was like, oh, that was more money than I was not expecting. I thought for sure you'd only pick like 2 or 3 pairs, but he
Brian does the same thing
8 or 9 of them. I'm like, perfect.
It's very, 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 very seldom I take anything back.
Yes.
I'm one of those people.
If you have it, you'll just wear it.
Yeah, it's like I'll figure it out.
And I take everything back with Aaron. Like he's just like, it's just not gonna work. I'm like, okay, but I have to I can't get offended by it. It just is what it is. So we just get used to it. Yeah. Anyway, so the Sorel boots, they are very, very cute. He just got a new pair. It's probably like his 3rd pair. So they're all like a little bit different.
Oh, awesome.
Anyway, so they're very, very comfortable.
I love it.
Okay, and the last one on the list, this is something that we literally use on a daily basis here at our house, is a DeWalt drill. He swears by everything DeWalt. He is like all guy, yellow and black. Like he just wants.
What does he say about Milwaukee? I'm curious.
He's not a fan.
He's not a fan?
So I know he has a couple of Milwaukee things that he hasn't been able to get in DeWalt, but you'd have to ask him more. I really could not get any substance of what he actually thinks about it. But the tool,
I will say this, so my background is construction. I was in construction for over 10 years. I'll tell you this, it really is, it is funny because it depends on the background of what you're doing.
Sure.
It determines your determines what kind of tools you use, if that makes
what
sense.
Kind of
like
brand?
if you're like, yeah, and it is pretty funny. I mean, if you're a drywall guy, you'll see a lot of those guys using Makita, and it's pretty funny though. There's like almost like you're gonna die on this hill.
Yes.
Does that make sense? Like,
no, there was one time I bought him something and he was like, I can't use that. I'm like, why? Because it was a good deal.
Yeah.
He's like, because it's not a DeWalt. I'm like,
see what I'm saying? Like,
but to him too, which I understand. Multiple batteries, like, you know what I mean? Like, you have to have different batteries for different brands and all of that.
They're diehards.
Diehard. We have 7,000 batteries. But this is the thing, is we have literally it's our leaf blower. It's all of our yard stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Plus, of course, he's building a bench, like a workbench type situation for our shed. The shed that I talked about that I literally helped frame. It looks
so nice.
Which he thinks so highly of me. And I'm like, dude, I will never do that again.
Oh,
never, ever. But he's trying to build a workbench, but he just bought a DeWalt table saw.
Oh,
he's like,
man.
I need it. I'm like, yes, you do. You do.
I was going to say, if there's anybody that needs what he needs, it's Aaron, dude. He knows what he wants.
He knows what he wants.
You turn the keys over to him, and you're going to have like chicken coops, and you get it all done.
And we do, and that's the thing. So that is next on the list. Maybe I'll have to do like a little update picture on when the actual workbench is done. But okay, so like I said, a quick intro on Brody, and we've obviously gone through our favorite things now, but let's get into literally the meat and potatoes of it.
Oh, wow.
You've been in real estate for almost 4 years.
Yep.
This is what I was just telling you before too, just kind of going through what we wanted to talk about today, but I have a lot of real estate people on my side of the family. I have friends, all that, but I feel like a lot of people have questions about real estate, but they don't want to reach out to a broker because they don't want to get kind of like snatched up in that web of, spiders of just like, they're going to like keep reaching out and all of that. You almost like give us, what's the market doing right now?
I'm going to say, if you don't want to get snatched up, I wouldn't call Zillow, because you call Zillow, they're going to blow your phone out. I'll just tell you that right now.
Just browse online. Do not actually.
I was going to say, definitely call someone, call somebody you know, and I think they can give you a little bit more of a pulse. But my advice would be to definitely call someone that actually is producing results. We actually went through, I sent you a video actually earlier this morning, but it's from Patrick Bet-Dave, and it was through some market statistics of, so there was some aggressive changes last year in the, kind of on the national side for the National Association of Realtors. And there's a lot of movement there, but basically just last year alone was pretty squirrely. And it was actually one of the lowest I think it was 30 or 35 years, lowest in regards to sales.
Yeah. And I quickly watched the video. The facts are crazy what he said.
So like so 45% of agents, according to this is Patrick Bet-David, right? So where he sourced it, I don't know, but I'd assume it's probably from National Association.
Yeah,
that's what I would assume, because he fact checks everything. But basically, it said 45% of agents didn't make a single transaction. Then I can't remember the block after that. The median real estate broker sold 2.
It was only 2
for the whole year.
Which is insane, because it's like
you can't survive.
You literally can't survive on that.
So then that's where it's kind of interesting with the changes that were made. It definitely kicked a lot. In that same video, it didn't show it, but I don't remember him saying it was around 75 to 80% of real estate agents actually dropped out of the business.
Oh yes, he did say that right at the very end.
Yeah. Which is, I'm not surprised by it, just because it really is a pretty cutthroat. And there's a lot of things that are really trying to shift that mindset of, the market's good, I'm going to grab my license to do that. It definitely shifts out. So more market share goes to the guys that are actually producing.
And that's what I was going to say. I feel like there was a time where, even just in the last few years, where everyone was getting their real estate license because homes were selling like hotcakes, right? Mm-hmm. You couldn't even have a home on the market longer than like 2 days.
Yeah.
Even in our own neighborhood. Like, it was crazy.
Well, you know what, for Utah right now, I actually looked up some stats before we did this, just because I wanted to be updated. But according to UtahRealEstate.com, for Utah specifically, the average days on market 63 days on market.
And is that like just in like the last few months or what?
Well, it updates every month, but I will say this.
Like a year. That's why I say everyone was getting their license, but the people that are invested are the ones who are producing.
I think it's about your top 20% are the ones that are holding up that are doing all the volume, which makes sense, and I like that. But With that said, though, I mean, and it's definitely shifted in regards to the market. Having the lot of days on market, you know, that volume. It used to, like you were saying, like 3 days on the market was like an average.
Yeah,
in 2021.
Totally. Yeah.
I remember going through that. In fact, we sold Kay's house for. We sold that one for $150,000 over the list price.
Yeah, which is insane.
That was nuts.
And there was like multiple offers, wasn't there?
Oh yeah, it was 12 offers. I had to start declining. Like just telling people like we're not going to accept any more offers.
Yeah.
Like, this
which is
too
crazy.
Much.
Kay is my mother-in-law, his grandma.
Yeah.
But yeah, like at that point, that's what I mean. Everything was going. Like if you didn't,
wild.
Even the house that then you guys bought for her,
yeah,
or helped her get was like it was not even listed yet. Like it was somebody that you knew, right?
Offers, yeah. Yep. And then what was crazy about that? So she called me at like 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
And I called her at 8 in the morning. I said, "Get your clothes on. We're gonna go check out a house." Yeah. And we ended up getting her there. And no joke. Way. We walk her in. And I said, "We have to make a decision in the next 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, do you like this house? This is the only one. If you want to be here or Mapleton, these are your two options.
This is it. This is your only option.
These are the only options."
That's
I'm like,
wild.
We have multiple offers on this. Yeah. I know the seller agent on this. We can get this thing.
Yeah.
I can get this thing.
Like, let's wrap
I can do this right now and leverage this relationship and get this thing wrapped up. And so she's like, and she was kind of like hesitant.
Yes, very
because you got to understand, going from 6,000 square feet to like 1,800, right?
Yep.
There's a huge jump.
Yeah.
And the process, we went from like zero, or like going from like we have some interest in doing this.
Sure.
To putting it under contract and closing under contract, putting it
like
under
24
contract.
hours.
It wasn't even 24 hours. I bet she was like 12 hours, And so we got it done, and it was pretty squirrely. But that was the nature of the market then. It was nuts. But now market's a little different now.
What have you seen? Like, why is it how it is now? Is it just because, like, not even like the real estate market, but obviously like the economy is, everything's so expensive now. Mm-hmm. Like every time I go to the grocery store, I'm like, how is this happening?
Honestly.
But so is it that why?
There's a lot of influence on, I'd say rates have a lot to do with it. And it directly and indirectly affects things. I mean, which is crazy. I mean, we'll, like a job report will come out. And they were estimating this is a few months, like a month or so ago. But I remember this job report came out. It was projected to have like 135,000 jobs or whatever, something bonkers like that.
Sure.
Came back as 12,000 new jobs.
That was
like stuff like that.
So literally,
the
discrepancy between 12,000 and like 130,000, like that
was huge. And so the rate just like exploded, not in a good way. And I was like, I mean, it moved like 40 basis points in a day, which, to be honest with you, that's a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, in other words, I mean, we can talk on the lending side to go into that, but basically what happened is like clients that were approved for this, we're no longer approved for that. We had to go reapprove.
Literally oh my god.
Because that's how much of the that's how much of the swing. But the thing is, it would move between days. Like it shifts on a daily basis.
So how can you even buy a house when you're like in such influx, right? Where you're like, hey, one day I think we can buy this house, and then the next day you're like, that's literally not even an option for us anymore. Like, how are you?
It's calculated risk. There's calculated risk into it, and a lot of it's on the lending side to be able to know which tools you can use. So that's the secret sauce to it.
Because do you feel like as a real estate agent, you're like, I'm showing all these homes to this person based on this, and then all of a sudden you're like, okay, actually, I'm gonna have to re-show. It doesn't happen very often.
It's not that drastic, thank goodness. But what it basically is there's new programs, tools, and it depends on what you're shopping. If we're doing like new construction stuff, we're shopping the incentives more so than anything.
Oh, sure.
Because you're not really going to get much on price because builders want to retain that value in those communities. So what you're shopping is for, if they're offering, crazy locked-in interest rates with some concessions on top of there.
Or like closing costs.
The closing costs are the secret bullet.
That's what I was going to say. I feel like anytime we've bought a house, I'm like, that just sounds like sweetness to me. Like, you want to cover my closing costs? You betcha. Let's sign this deal down. But I obviously don't know much about it. But to me, it always just feels like a good... Like it feels good when someone's like, "Oh, we'll pay your closing costs."
Oh, it's huge. Cash out of pocket is always a big thing. I'd say concessions right now are kind of a big tool to counter the interest rates. So there's different incentives or like different programs, loan programs or products that are really unique. Where the big one right now, I'd say that I'm seeing, and we've been using it all through 2024, to kind of combat those really like the 7-8% interest rates that
Yeah.
are nuts, and still even
I
now
can't
even into like the high
imagine.
sixes, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But what it is basically this loan product, and obviously consult with your lender on this, but basically you lock in at a rate, and then for your first year, it's going to be 2 basis points or 2 points lower. So let's just say,
okay.
let's for easy math, let's say it's as I don't know, like a 6% interest rate. Your
Sure.
first year is going to be a 4%,
okay.
then it's going to be a 5%, then it's go back to that 6,
okay.
3 years later.
Yeah.
So the idea is to temporarily, have a window of time to be able to hopefully that those rates will come down.
Yeah,
and
but you can like
refinance.
refinance.
Then with the current, whatever
that makes
that 6%.
sense. Sure.
So that's kind of the tool, and so that's actually kind of an interesting point. It's been really great, but for some of those people that bought 2 years ago,
Yeah.
and they never refinanced.
Yeah, like you're screwed now, kind of.
Yeah, you have you get used to living, or hopefully your financial situation changed. You're able
Sure.
to refinance, but or able to make that payment. But I'm seeing a lot of those come due for people that never refinanced, and so you're seeing that where people are, I just can't afford the payment anymore.
Yes.
So you're seeing a lot of that.
Yeah.
So we had a mass influx of inventory. In fact, there was a point where I got to check that again. But like last time I checked, when it was really crazy, it was north of 11,000 properties on the market.
What?
In the state of Utah.
Whoa.
Across. So with that said, like a buyer's market, you're hoping there's more listings so you can go in there and leverage that.
Sure.
Well, we're not going to take yours, we'll take the other one.
You bet.
So you're able to work the deals down. And so right now, we're kind of in that. Now before, when it was a seller's market.
A buyer's market right now.
I would say so. Yeah, that's my experience.
Sure.
I mean, the last couple homes I've done, I've knocked over $100,000 off of each property we've put under contract. So it's like you're seeing a lot of deals. Mike, my brother-in-law, he closed on one last week, and I mean, he got over $200,000 off the list.
Whoa, and that's so much when you look at like what I own my house for and what my equity should be, and like if you're knocking that, I'm like, that's fine. That could be your entire equity.
That's exactly right. And it's really tough. That's the challenge right now. So on the selling side, it's a really challenging time to sell if you're a seller. But on the buy, and I'm not saying that that's the case for everybody.
Sure.
And
it just depends on what your situation is.
It just depends on what your situation is. And like there are like really hot houses will hit. They're gone within a couple of days with like 4 offers on it. And it's still happening in this market. But I would say, for the most part, you're seeing a lot more days on market, like we were talking about, the 65 days. I would say it's a little bit lower for Utah County, but I'm still seeing quite a bit of days on market. So that definitely opens an opportunity to be able to strike a really good deal.
Sure.
So if you're on the buy side right now, you're like a lot of investors and stuff like that. I'm literally negotiating a deal right now down in St. George right now. And we're, it's just, this is the time.
Yeah.
This is the time. I mean,
which is really awesome.
It's been great. I mean, we put one under contract this week. That was a pretty sweet deal, and I'm really excited. They even threw a razor in, like a side by side. Yeah, like a row machine. It was like a $2,500 row machine. I mean, all these crazy cool things and features and stuff because they just
need to get rid of it.
And it has like 100. If I recall, I had like 132 days on the market. So they're just like, whatever we can do to offload this.
Yes.
So you're seeing that. I'd say stuff that's also popping. Is a lot of sellers are doing seller finance. In other words,
interesting.
Yeah, basically they stay on the loan.
Yeah.
And your buyer will pay a third-party escrow company, escrow specialist, and then they'll pay off to the bank.
Sure.
They'll pay the bank loan.
Okay.
Then they'll pay insurances and all that kind of stuff, and then whatever's left over, they pay the seller out.
Oh,
right.
Interesting.
So they'll get a chunk of money up front, and then they make money like the bank on interest, right? So if their interest rate was like, let's say 2.5 or something crazy like that when it was nuts, and they're charging like, let's say a 4.5% or something like that, they're making the difference between that, the bank rate. So it's kind of like it's almost like having an investment property without responsibility.
Without being a landlord.
Yes.
That sounds right up my alley.
Right?
Because anytime we've talked about like any type of real estate, like investment, anything like that, Aaron's like, I mean, he builds restaurants, right?
Yeah.
And he has to go fix stuff all the time for the restaurant. And he's like, that's literally my job. I don't want to do that outside of my job, which totally makes sense to me. I get that.
So that's where like new construction would make more sense for you, where it's just like, hey, you have a problem, here's the builder's number.
Yes.
Right? It's under the warranty, the builder's warranty or whatever.
Sure.
That would make more sense. Where you're going to get more return is what we call sweat equity, where you're going to go in and renovate a product where it's like, and it doesn't even have to be actually fixing up the property. I mean, you could do increase the rents. You could do, valet or like concierge, like, trash removal.
Oh yeah.
You could do, vending machines. You could do laundromat kind of stuff with that.
Totally.
There's a lot of ways to do it. So I know that there's multiple ways to squeeze out. Like we're looking at a property in Provo right now for a client that they want to like basically create a non-conforming duplex. In other words, they want to live in one of the rooms upstairs and have a bunch of roommates.
Sure.
And then they want to sector the bottom off and have a separate unit. And then what they want to do,
it's an actual house.
It's an actual single family house. Okay. They would seal off one side and maybe have a door or whatever.
Yeah.
But then they'd have another apartment downstairs. This is typically called house hacking. Okay. But then they have they have enough property where they could have a storage shed that they could rent out. Use the storage.
Yes, yeah, for storage, yeah.
Right. So there's a platform called the Neighbor app. Mm-hmm. That app right there, you could use that. Charge, I don't know, let's say $20 to $150 for someone to park their motorcycle for the off season, right? Yep. Like if like they have a scooter moped over here at BYU, they don't have a space to put it because they only live in a condo. They're
literally just filling up this storage shed.
Right. They just fill up this storage shed and you charge for it, right?
Like, what if there was a fire or something? Like,
well, then that's where
insurance.
You'd have
agreements.
You have agreements and stuff like that, and you have insurance and stuff. And typically, I always consult my clients, even if it's primary residence, if you can, to try to get it under an LLC.
Yeah, sure.
So even if it was your personal residence, someone comes in there and freaking breaks the leg on you,
yes,
get sued, right? But anyways.
Totally.
So that's typically that's
So basically, if you want to do any investing,
Brody,
he does have some good information on that.
There's a lot to it. I think the biggest thing is honestly any everybody that I know that I work with, they have like an umbrella company, but then every single property has its own LLC.
Oh, interesting.
Does that make sense?
Yeah,
and so like if someone were to break their leg, they're not going to take your whole portfolio.
Yeah, it's only going to be under what that one
only
is.
one.
So it's interesting because I'm sure you've seen it, but right out here at my house, this huge plot of like land. It's been there forever. But they rent it out to like trucking companies. People put their boats there, motor homes. I don't love it in my neighborhood, and I don't really see it because of where my house is facing. Mm-hmm. But there's even like where they've sectored off. There's horses.
Oh yeah,
like a small little horse area.
See, this guy's brilliant.
Yes. Oh yeah, and he's the one who owns pretty much all of the farms around here too, all the land. Oh, so he's literally been doing things like that for years.
Oh yeah,
and I'm like,
he gets
I can't
crazy.
even imagine how much money he's making every month.
And if he's owning a bunch of land, he could be into the greenbelt space and get these crazy tax breaks and stuff too.
Oh yeah, because he's renting to like people to like. Oh, I want to grow alfalfa. I want to grow pumpkins for dinners. Like all of this stuff.
Or like a sheep
he's just
or
like
something
renting
like that.
it out.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And there's big tax plays to it. A lot of tax breaks. Like I know guys that will buy ranches for cattle just for the tax breaks. Oh my gosh, they'll go buy these giant chunks of land.
Yeah, but then they rent them out to some.
They'll greenbelt it out, or they'll get their own head of cattle and get the write-offs for it. You got to understand. There's levels to this.
I know. I was just saying, we could literally go down a rabbit hole of like what you could do.
There's so much that you can do. I got guys that will flip land. They'll buy land and then relist it. And one of my buddies, he's making a very healthy six figures at 25, 26 years old. He'll find land. He'll get. He's able to improve it, or he'll even leave it as is. He'll get it for a crazy discounted price and then just relist it.
Sure.
And it's crazy. So many opportunities, and he's been able to roll it into many other things too, and he's been able to capitalize on that. But there's so many ways to make it in real estate. That's the beauty of it, because I think the biggest thing is tax. I'd say it's the biggest tax, kind of. Shield, I guess you could say, to anything, because real estate is you utilize the depreciation, which is kind of cool. It's called cost segregation.
Okay.
You can use that as a tool. So you write off the depreciation for depending on which one you do, but basically it's about 27 and a half years. Mm-hmm. And essentially, when you go to pay taxes, right, for tax write-offs, they just take from that bucket.
Oh, interesting.
Right. So instead of going for your bank account, they go to that, and then they just pull from that. And so, I know guys that will. Literally don't even pay taxes anymore, just because they pay it.
Yeah, it's coming out of a different fund. Sure,
that's correct. So it's all on how you do it. So that way they can reutilize, and it's one of the government ways of incentivizing property owners to go out and create, put to bed the housing situation problems there.
Yes.
You could do. There's a lot of cool, like let's say the house hacking. They have it's called the Augusta rule.
Okay.
And I'm obviously consult your accountant.
Your
Okay.
accountant.
Don't sue me, all right, guys.
Yeah.
But basically, you can write off, a portion of your house, just or you do different things like that too. Where for Augusta, the golf tournament, that's where it all stems from. But basically, people would rent their houses out like Airbnb.
Oh, yes.
Before Airbnb kind of really hit.
Yeah.
But they wanted a tax break on this. They created a tax rule against that, so you could be able to do that.
Take advantage
of that and write off, like if you have like an office, right?
Sure.
As a business expense. So it's kind of cool. So there's a lot of different tools to it, and that's the perk of real estate. And obviously it's a shelter and stuff, and it always goes up in value. I mean, historically.
Totally. Yeah, right? I was going to say. So what are you seeing now? Like, what is 2025 looking like?
I would say it's going to be, if I had a crystal ball, which I don't have, I would anticipate it's going to be very similar to 2024. I'm hoping it doesn't, but I would assume it's going to be very similar, where we're going to have pretty stagnant rates. Obviously, it's directly impacted by politics, which is very frustrating. But it is what it is.
It is what it is, yeah.
I think there's going to be, I think we're going to see a lot of movement in rates. I think either end of the year, if not going into next year, I think. Because honestly, that's my personal opinion. Obviously, you can ask anybody, you can read wherever, and you're going to get different information wherever you go.
Yeah.
But word around
it's going to say something a little tiny different.
Yeah, 100%. Word around the office is basically saying that's probably what we're going to be looking like. It's going to be probably a pretty similar year. So you're going to see a lot of the similar tools being used. The thing that's different,
but a little bit slower than maybe like 2 years ago.
Yeah, than 2 years ago for sure. Because we're seeing rates from 2 years ago, or whatever it was. I think it was like 2 years ago or whatever. So you're seeing I'm doing like market analysis for clients and stuff, and they're like, dude, this is basically like what I bought it for. It's just kind of stayed.
Yes.
And you're like, we had at one point between now and when we sold it or bought the property, where you guys bought the property, we've had interest rates, we've had banks failing, we've had, there's been a lot of calamity that has created a lot of, and so there's a lot of everything that kind of impacts that indirectly, but it's not a bad thing. We just got to figure out now there's paths of growth that we've done very, very, very well. So as an investor, typically you make your money on the purchase. Sure. You always make your money on the buy. You can ask anybody that. You always make your money on the buy. So it doesn't matter, whatever the market condition is, you always want to buy smart.
Yeah, for sure.
Always want to buy smart. And there's ways to do it. There's ways to do it in any market condition. I don't care if it's like really crazy times or if it's a little bit slower. Like right now, it's awesome. If you're going to go buy, you're walking away like a banshee. But if you're going to go on the sale side, it's just going to be a little bit different of an approach.
Sure.
So, like I said, different tools to maximize rent, the value. Seller financing. Basically, you're selling the terms.
Sure.
I mean, the payments, like the property value, that's one thing. That's great. But really, you're paying for, like, what is my payment?
Yeah.
You're basically buying a payment.
Yeah.
There's assuming the loans, you're seeing a lot of that. And there's only a couple of loan programs that allow you to do that. The hack behind it, it's very, very similar, but it's once again a variant of seller financing. It's called sub-2, but basically it's an assumable loan. Basically. There's a couple difference between a traditional assumable loan and a sub-2. I want to make it very clear. But basically,
that's the thing. I'm like, I really know nothing about any of this, and that's why I say I really did want to have you come on.
Yeah.
I feel like most people don't know, and it's hard to go in and get all this information from someone where you're like, I just want to ask questions without feeling like I'm being poached.
100%. Well, here's the biggest thing is you just need to know what levers you have to pull.
Yeah.
Because it does shift, right? Like the big pull has been, like the big levers that have been recent have been 2-1 buy downs, right? We were talking about like using the sellers out of the seller's proceeds to, temporarily buy that interest rate down.
Sure.
We kind of talked about that a little bit ago. But that's kind of the big tool. I'd say conventionally, that's probably one of the largest tools if you're impacted by rate, or like if you're more affected by payment, which is like 99% of buyers.
Yes.
But if you're
100%, because everyone has to, like you can't buy a house if you don't know what the payment is, and if it's going to be too expensive and you can't afford it, then.
Right. If you're like cash buyer, obviously you don't need rates.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, there's a lot of those that are like.
Which is also crazy. Like, where are all these people coming from? California?
I've worked with a handful of people in California.
I can't even believe how many people are like, oh, it was a full cash offer. I'm like, who has that kind of
what's crazy is when you have
around?
like 5 or 6 cash offers on a property, you're like, all right, this is insane. Where is everybody getting this money?
That's what I mean. I'm like, what?
I have no idea. I'd say most of it, it comes from people selling property.
Sure.
I would say that's kind of the big one.
Yeah. Maybe they've had a property for a long time. They've sat on it. And now it's worth so much.
Yep.
Like I've had clients tell me that, they lived, like say up in Sugar House or whatever and owned the home for 20 years. And then They literally sold it for like 5 times as much as what they bought it for, and it's that's so wild.
You got to be in there's certain areas that the path buying in the path of growth's great. I think that's one thing. The established areas are really good. So if you can buy in those areas that are going to be hot, for example, let's just say Salem, Mapleton, that kind of stuff. Yes. There's the new on ramp that's going to be happening.
Oh yeah.
As soon as that goes in, those areas are going to explode.
Yeah.
So if you bought in before that, and then you're gonna capture that, that growth, you're gonna be in a pretty solid spot.
Yeah.
So knowing where those paths of growth are, I'd say a lot of commercial follows the like residential follows commercial. So strong indicators of people that are doing a lot of, I guess you could say feasibility studies would be Costco.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah, Costco, like Costco is they do their homework. They create energy.
Yeah.
It's an anchor tenant, that kind of stuff. Those guys drive so much tax revenue.
Like a big box store to have,
Like big box stores.
People want to be close though. They want to hey, I want to be within 10, 15 minutes of a Costco.
Yeah, you nailed it. You hit it around the head. So, but if you're a restaurant owner, like being a restaurant owner in the Costco parking lot, dude, you better just put up the for lease sign, because you're going to be. I mean, those people go in
so slow.
Oh yeah, you'd be so slow. Those people, like knowing your market, right? Those people go into Costco, they grab it like hundreds of dollars worth of goods, and then they get it home as quickly as possible.
Yep, totally.
So if you're a restaurant owner, you're gonna get shellacked.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of keep that in mind.
Well, and like most people, I feel like I haven't actually been to Costco for a long time. We go to Sam's Club, but like most people eat at Costco.
That's what I'm saying.
Like they eat. They actually like
$1.50 for a dog and a drink.
For a hot dog. Yes,
it's like, dude, you can't beat it.
Yeah, why would you go somewhere else after that? I mean, I'm definitely of the mindset of like, as soon as I go grocery shopping, I'm like, that's the last thing I want to do is cook right now.
Yeah.
After I just bought all this food, but.
Well, grocery shopping, to go grocery shop, and then to go like wholesale, like mass, like we're stocking up for the season. That's a Costco experience, in my personal opinion.
Yeah. I know,
but if you're gonna go,
it's gross.
It is what it is. It's just the nature of it. But that's just kind of reading the room there. Like if you're a restaurant owner, that's not ideal. But like being proximity is good, because that's usually they build where there's a lot of energy. They create it, but being in the parking lot is just never good. So I'd say but on a residential side,
if you're 10 to 15 minutes from a Costco, you're golden.
Just, and if you can get the inside scoop, this is where it's nice to have people that are actually putting in the time to work, that know, what developments are going on, and kind of know what the plans are. Like those, in other words, it's who you know.
Sure.
The guys that are doing the homework and kind of rubbing shoulders with the developers, that kind of stuff. Those are the guys that are going to have the pulse, and that will probably give you the best consulting. So I'll use this as an example.
That's like a great, that's a great word of advice for anyone that's looking for a real estate agent. Look for somebody who is plugged in.
Well, it's the secret sauce. The guys that make all the deals are the ones that shake the most hands.
Sure.
That's the secret behind it. And so
it is like most things. It's not what you know, it's who you know.
That's exactly right. Well, my business, that's it.
Yeah.
That is it.
Yeah.
That is literally it. And that's why actually I got into the space, into real estate, was I absolutely love to connect and network with people.
Yeah.
Okay. When I was in construction, I was getting, basically ticking off every boss I ever had. Because they're like, dude, I'm paying you to go install this. And I'm like,
and you're just chatting.
I'm like, dude, I'm making you look good. I'm getting you more accounts. How about that? And it ended up working out pretty good. It is pretty funny. But I was like, sales has always kind of been just ingrained. My dad's in the sales space. But the biggest thing for me is the product is one thing. Okay.
Yep.
A house literally directly impacts every aspect of your family.
Sure.
All your kids, who they grow up, what the expectations are, in the community.
Yeah.
It's cultural, it's your routines, the gym, where you shop, who that gal at the checkout is that you're going to see, twice or 3 times a week when you go to the store. Like, it doesn't matter what everybody, like, it trickles all the way down.
Yeah.
And it directly impacts everything, even your aptitude of where your kids go to school and what that trajectory looks like. I mean, everything is impacted by the acquisition of the house.
Yeah.
It is imperative.
No, I 100% agree with that. When we moved here, we never imagined that we would end up in the neighborhood that we did. Yeah. It's so amazing. I talk about my village all the time. Like, we for sure won't leave until the kids graduate. Yeah. If ever. Like, I'd rather just keep this house and get like a second house in Florida.
Right. And you got your friends here. Yeah. It's just everything. It's just this is safe. This is, and it's important. And then on top of that, I mean, for 90% of people, this is the largest financial commitment they'll ever make.
Yes.
So there's a lot more to it, and I take that extremely serious because I know the impact that every single it's not like selling a pair of shoes.
Oh, absolutely.
And there's a lot of things to think about when you're considering a decision like this, and I think it's good to have all of it, even timing. I'm like, how long do you guys plan on buying or being in this area?
Yeah, sure.
Like, oh, I'm thinking about 3 years. So I'm like, all right. And then you have some people that are like, no, I'm like 30 years committed.
Yeah. Oh,
so, like, those two are even going to shift on how you want to, buy. You're like,
oh, absolutely, and the type of house that you want to get.
That's exactly right. Yeah. So some people are like, I'm like, I'm a 30-year person here, and I'm like, my budget's this. I'm like, all right, that's important, but if you're planning on this is what you want to do for 30 years, you got to plan to grow into that space.
Yes.
And so it may make more sense to stretch your budget a little bit more and figure out ways to mitigate some of that payment for right now, because hopefully that your financial stability will change
over that time.
That's exactly right. So it's like we may want to be a little bit more aggressive on maybe more property, more house, right?
Sure.
But if it's like a 3-year house, it doesn't really matter.
It doesn't really matter.
It's
like, you're going to be in and out. And 3 years goes.
And I'm like, let's try to do as much as we can and try to buy as little, for as much, to get as much.
Absolutely.
It shifts on. I mean, this is why whenever I do a buyer's consultation, or even on the sales side, or when I'm just talking to people about real estate in general, I mean, I really try to get the secret sauce is just asking the right questions. If you can ask the right questions and get really surgical with what they need and want, that allows you to be more effective with fulfilling their needs. And it sounds silly, but it's true. It's a question.
I don't think it is at all. I think it's very much the same in hair, right? I have to ask the right questions to know what they want.
Yeah, 100%. And that's how you keep clients. You keep them going. And then for them, like for me, I'm in the space of referrals. Referrals are everything.
Yeah.
That's the lifeblood.
Sure.
And so it's just the nature of it. You want to serve your clients the best way possible. And so just asking a lot of questions, but that's what I mean, for me.
So really, I mean, it was the connecting for you. Like
not kind of.
It was 100%. Like when you're like, hey, what do I want to be when I grow up?
Yeah, it was.
I'm still trying to figure out what I want to be when I grow up. But even when they said like you were in real estate, I was like, oh my gosh, that's actually like perfect for you because of your personality.
I love it. Well, it's a
product. But is it just the connecting? Do you get because to me, when I look at it, I'm like, I love the connecting, but I don't want to have to go find people. First of all, but also, I mean, like I like houses, but that doesn't like excite me. So does it excite you? Like, do you love? Okay, so it's not like you're going
there's something that can be exciting.
Bathroom,
There's some things that are cool, but like, I mean, you go through enough houses where there's a lot of like. For me, it's really not that. It's actually the service of the people, and not kind of.
It is the 100%.
It doesn't. For me, I don't. I mean, I get as excited as on a $2.5-4 million house. I mean, I'm working on. We have a couple parades this year that are pretty cool. Like we're closing on June 1st for my clients. They're super excited. That's gonna be our 2025 parade. That's gonna be gorgeous. They're really excited. That product is unreal.
Yeah,
it's awesome. But I get just as excited. In fact, I get more fulfillment. I sold a property down in Levan, believe it or not, out of all places.
Yeah.
And these guys,
far away.
It's very far south. And I was like, you guys really want to be here? They're like, and I found the property for them, and it had 2 detached shops and a house, and they were like really excited. And I got it for under $500,000.
Oh my gosh,
and
that's
so
insane. And to have that much property.
Yeah, oh yeah. And we got them like some crazy, we ended up, we closed on this about a month ago, and we got them a 3.25% interest rate.
What?
Yeah.
How?
So just using different programs, we stacked a few things. Yeah. I mean, it was extremely creative, like solutions here.
Sure.
But what was so fulfilling about this is how we were able to pull this off. I knew the listing agent was one that had a tremendous amount of influence on the deal, like tremendous.
Sure, because he's like, I know Brody's a good guy.
Yeah, we've closed a transaction previously. Phenomenal experience. Worked extremely hard to get that one done. There was a lot of hurdles that we had to overcome to get that one. Okay. So this gal knew. She's like, I know if Brody gets on this, it's going to close.
Yeah, it's going to happen.
It's going to do it. Yeah. So that was one. 2, it was kind of interesting because there was definitely some sort of there was a guiding hand in this because these guys were, I mean, they were selling like motorcycles, that kind of stuff, just to get the down payment.
Yeah.
and we hit just the threshold to be able to pull that off.
Gosh.
They listed their whatever they needed and stuff.
Cold chills.
It was crazy. They listed their stuff within 15 minutes. They had everything sold that they needed: Jeeps, car, motorcycles, trailers, just to come up with the down payment to pull this off.
Yeah.
And that night, like when we had to go tour the property, I mean, they were like, she was in tears.
Yeah.
It was crazy, but we went and we even filled out the offer. Like I got home like 11:30 at night. We were negotiating that thing till about 1.
Oh my god.
The sellers were up. We were up. Everybody was up, and we were negotiating that thing. The next morning, we got it under contract that night.
Okay.
The next morning, a full price cash offer, waived due diligence, waived appraisal, all that stuff came in. And we totally were able to pull this off. We got it. Well, we got it. We got it locked in. If we did not do it
that night before,
the night before, if they didn't have the Jeeps and all that stuff sold and didn't have that, I mean, literally everything, all the stars aligned for these guys to pull it off. And in any which way you skin the cat on it, like even the due diligence, there's quite a few items that popped up on the inspection report.
Sure.
And they were all electrical related items. And he's an electrician. So like all of it, I was like, out of all the things that could have gone wrong.
No, literally, you guys are supposed to be here.
Like, literally, it was.
No matter what happens, you will end up.
Oh man, it literally almost made me cry because I was like, there is absolutely no way that we should have been the ones to pull this off. There's in any metric that you measure in real estate.
Sure.
These guys were not supposed to have this,
house,
but everything aligned for it, and so I get more fulfillment out of that.
Yes.
You know, something.
They're just selling like an $8 million.
Yeah, $8 million, whatever. It doesn't really matter to me. To me, it's all the same. You know, it's really not about that. It's the level of service that you provide to someone, and the impact that you have for those people. That's what I seek, and that's what gives me not only the cup fill, but that's the reason why I got into the space. And the product itself is awesome because it has so much impact. Sure. And I like things that have mass impact because I'm always seeking to have as much impact with people as I can.
Yes, absolutely.
That is it. Yeah. That is it. And so people know me as well for being that guy that just has a guy for everything. Yeah. I mean, you know this, but if I need anything. That's
what we always talk about. I'm like, I got a guy.
Everything. It doesn't matter what it is. You need to, I mean, like Sean, for example, Julia, but like, it doesn't matter. I mean, like, if you need anything, I'm that one-stop shop, and I have it all the time. I have out-of-state clients that will call me like, "Hey, do you know someone in Texas?" I'm like, "Yeah,
yes, I do.
I do. I need someone in Florida." I'm like, "All right, I'll call John. Let's get you connected there."
Totally.
I'm looking for 1031 money. I want to do something like multifamily. I'm looking in these areas. I'm like, perfect. We'll call Hartley, or we'll call whoever it is, right?
Sure.
It doesn't matter who it is.
Yeah.
It's just the thing that I bring to the table that separates me from literally every single agent out there is resource. I have the most resources, and what I mean by that is I'm talking about people, right? Yeah. I can get you anything, whatever you need, whatever you want. You need someone gone, I know someone can do it, dude.
like we said, if you need a body married, he's your guy.
That's what it is. It's the value proposition there. Yeah. Two, I'm going to outwork the guy next to me, right? And
you are always very, So I'm sure Mariah.
It is what it is.
Loves it, but doesn't love it. But like you said, she has told me many a times how you're like, it's like 11 p.m. and you're walking in the door because you're like, sorry, I've been working.
I mean, I've been in the office till 2 a.m. working with clients in Australia and stuff. It's not so crazy. I mean, one of the deals we closed, Andrews, for example. Closing that one, we had to fly the people in from Korea to Hawaii. Yes. Because we're doing the Korean consulate to close this thing. It's like, it doesn't matter. If there's a way to get the deal done, we're going to get it done. We're going to get it done. So we just got to figure it out. But the thing is providing value on a high level. I like the product because it has so much impact, and I like to have impact. But kind of coming back to it, the value proposition for me really is the most resourceful. There's always going to be a smarter guy in the space. There's always, and that's the beauty though, is that I have those guys at my disposal. The way that I sell to people is you're not allowing me to service you. You're hiring the whole team and resources that come with it. And that's why you hire me versus someone else, right? Yeah. But that's what gets me excited is I can have mass impact to these people. Like people call me for tax, people that need for upper scale and that kind of stuff. And I'm like, I got, Darren or what. It doesn't matter.
You got a guy.
That's the secret to it. You can provide so much value to these people. And it's there's no limits to it.
Yeah. Well, I think going along with what you're saying though, even just like where you're helping people, I say this all the time to my own brother because when we were looking for a house, we had put offers on tons of houses like in the Pleasant Grove area.
Yeah.
And same, it was a time, we moved here in 2017, so it's 2016. Even then, things were going like hotcakes.
Oh, yeah.
And so anytime we put an offer on, somebody else had done it like 45 minutes before. Like, just couldn't. Anyway, and he was like, you really should look in Springville. I'm like, I'm not going to live in Springville. That's so far away. You know, all these things. And you just go look. It's like how Pleasant Grove was 20 years ago, which now is like, 25 years ago. But, and I think back to what you guys do as real estate agents.
Yeah.
You put people in homes that change their lives.
That's exactly right.
Living in this house has literally changed our lives.
Exactly.
Right? Like, again, the people that are surround us, my village, just so many things, the friends that my kids are growing up with and the schools that they go to. And so it is like mass impact
their influence
is really, truly that is like the number one.
I mean, your kids' aptitude, their aptitude in life journey is literally dictated because of the influence of their friends.
Absolutely.
Their friends that, hey, they play football or whatever, and now your kid's in football or whatever, and now this is the aptitude that this is the journey I want to go down. It needs to take me to this, and that started from freaking the influences that they had here.
Yeah.
I mean, it literally trickles down to legitimately. I mean, to that level.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's so important that you make the right decision. And what's cool about it, and this is what gets me excited. I'm always chasing this. This is the thing I chase. There's a feeling when people find the house that they want that there's literally like a chemical change.
Sure.
Like a physical change in their demeanor of when they see the right property.
Yeah.
And when you get that, for example, that Levan property.
Yeah.
That was it. I mean, you had him crying, she's crying. We're filling out the offer. It's 11:30 at night. There's just a lot of emotion going into it. They listed stuff right before the showing, and then all of a sudden, all of it sells by the end of the showing.
And you're like, this is it.
I mean, like that kind of stuff. I mean, stuff on Facebook Marketplace.
Well, that's like Hallmark worthy.
That's what I'm saying.
I can't sell anything on Facebook Marketplace these days.
That's what I'm saying.
I used to sell everything.
Now imagine
now
imagine you're like, this is the house, and understand. Remember, like the next day, I mean, 4 offers came in on the property, which is nuts. But one that superseded them all was that one.
Sure.
It was a cash offer with everything waived, and it was like a week close.
Which is
crazy. It was the dream offer that you could ever receive, and we closed it, which is crazy. So it was one of those things that like the fulfillment piece for me is I chase that. I chase the feeling of that feeling that people have, that chemical, because that fuels me. I mean. That is
it just makes you love your job.
Oh, it does.
Makes you want to work 10 times harder.
Oh, it's so fulfilling. That's the fulfilling piece to it. That's what keeps you going. It keeps you in the office and making the phone calls, because the way that this is probably one of the biggest mindset things for me. I try to buy and sell confident. I try to make my people feel confident.
Sure.
In every aspect, right? Whether it's confident, in the team or whatever, it doesn't matter. I try to build up as much confidence with these people. Okay. But the biggest thing for me is the mindset that I have is I'm doing people a disservice if I don't talk to them. Yeah. Because I want them to chase that same experience that this Levan couple had.
Yeah.
I want them to chase the opportunity because I know that I have so much value to provide to these people.
Yeah, absolutely.
That if I do not talk to them, I'm screwing them. I'm giving them a disservice. That's what it is. It doesn't matter. I mean,
but that is such a cool thing. Like, when you talk about self-confidence, that is like. That's like the key to life right there.
Well, that's where the confidence comes from. Yeah. It's like if I do not, I'm serious. If I do not, I always have something to provide value. Sure. I don't care if it's an ice cream spot. It doesn't matter what it is to me.
Totally.
I have to figure out a way to provide value or service to people, and I have it's almost like a social capital system, or like a social bank account or social kind of capital system that I have in my brain that. I try to make as many deposits in people as possible.
Sure.
As many. And that way, when it comes time to make a withdrawal, in other words, require some services or something like that, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
It's a no-brainer. People are like, absolutely, I'd love to.
Yes,
finally ask me, right?
Yeah.
But they feel more inclined. And I'm not doing it to have one up on other people. But the thing is, if I can provide value to them, they are excited or looking forward to the opportunity that they can make a withdrawal when I make that withdrawal.
Sure.
And with that, whether that withdrawal is to help someone else. Yeah. Like, oh, this guy has a flood, I'm going to call Jake.
Yeah, totally.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And Jake's excited, you can provide that value. And it's just those opportunities. So anyways, I try to do that. But the biggest thing for me, this is like, The biggest thing for me is communicating, right?
Okay.
So we're going to go down this. This is like something this is like the foundation of the way I communicate. This is the silver bullet to all of this. Okay. This is literally
I'm very excited.
This is it. This is exactly, it's 3 things. The basic formula here that I do. And I've made it a way that I communicate. And it doesn't matter how detached like the space and background of these people. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
I mean, I've worked with socialists. I've worked with, I've worked with, I mean, you name it. I couldn't be more far away from that. And yet I can connect in level reason and have a genuine experience with these people, right? Doesn't matter what it is. But the secret that I have.
Because you love people.
I love people. Love people. That's it. That's the foundation to all of this. Okay. So you have a genuine interest to help these people and love for them. And you care. Okay. Yep. And it's got to be genuine. It can't be like a false, and you know when people are just blowing smoke.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So it's got to be genuine, and it's always been that way. You know, my mom and everything like that. It's just it's literally a genetic. It's a genetic thing. It comes from Grandpa Smith.
And I feel the same. My dad is exactly the same way.
Oh yeah,
and so 100% comes from
there is a genuine about it. Okay.
Yeah.
And I genuinely want to serve people and help at a greater capacity. But the way that I communicate is 3 things. Okay. The first one is I always try to lead with a humor or a compliment. Okay. Always. Let's use this. We'll use an example of the gym. Okay. I'll go through these steps and I'll use James as an example. Then the next one that I do is I try to establish common ground immediately. Okay. Okay. That's the next one. So lead with humor or compliment. Establish a common ground immediately out of the gate so you can connect with this person. And then the last one is provide value. Seems very, 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 very simple. Very simple. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And I'm not saying people don't know, but I'm just highlighting what you guys already know. Sure. This is how I communicate. So let's use James as an example. Okay. This is the guy with the calves. Remember that? We were talking about calves. Yes. Okay. So James, I walk up to James. Didn't know him from Adam. Yeah. Big software. No idea who he was. Yeah, no idea. He had his son. He was working out, on the bench press. Okay. I literally get up. I tap on the shoulder from behind. Yeah. And I'm like, dude, you got some rocking calves. And he just laughs because you got to keep in mind. We now find out that he's in tech and all that stuff. So he's very introverted. Like he's very nice. Yeah. It has nothing to do with not being nice. It's just like he's not going to go out his way to go talk to people he doesn't like. Yeah. So you catch him off guard. He's like starts giggling like, what the freak? Yeah. This man just came and told me I had nice calves. Yeah, told me I had nice legs. And then I was like, obviously you must be doing something pretty substantial here. Yeah. What are you doing? He's like, oh man, I played rugby or whatever. I'm like, I played baseball. That's awesome. Like, that's so cool. You obviously have an accent. Where you're from? Oh, I'm from Australia. That's crazy. I'm from Montana, so we're both foreigners here. Yeah. Kind of connecting. Yep. And then, obviously that conversation went for a little bit, talking about his family, that kind of stuff. And then he led into what do you do for work? Like I asked him that. I'm like, so what do you do for work? Obviously, you're doing something, right? Kind of, you always trying to make people feel really good. And it's not disingenuous.
Yeah, genuine. Totally. Yeah, you're like, I genuinely want to know.
I'm curious. Yeah. And he's like, oh, I run multiple tech companies. I'm like, that's crazy. And then come to find out he's got 1,000 car dealerships in Australia. Whoa. I'm like, you have all these things, but and then I'm like, he's like, what do you do? I'm like, well, I'm actually in real estate. I've been selling real estate for a little bit now. And he's just like, no way, I've been interested in buying some real estate. I'm like, that's crazy. It just so happened to be that the value proposition that he needed was, I need a tax write-off for, for businesses. I'm looking for, so we ended up making an offer, not even 5 hours later, about like on an 8-plex. 5 hours later? Yeah. So it was crazy because I told him like, well, it's kind of funny, but I actually have an 8-plex down the street here. That would be a really good sweat equity play and everything like that. And he's like, that's awesome. Let's do it. He's like, I want to make it very clear. He's like, I'm not loyal to any real estate agent. Totally. Yeah. I'm not going to be loyal to you or anything like that. I'm like, oh, we'll see. Okay. Well, we'll see. That's what I told him. Anyways, because I had confidence that I'm like, but I'm providing. Well, anyways, later we ended up putting an offer and that kind of stuff. And anyways, we have bought and sold, but like 5 or 6 properties now. Oh my! I'm looking for a property right now up in Salt Lake Forum right now, but like basically the moral of that story. He's like sent me referrals. Yes. I helped sell his sister's house. Like it's just been fantastic. They are literally one of the most incredible families
Yeah.
ever. He's been a great resource. And if I need anything, I reach out to him. I say, hey, I have a guy that's looking for, tech opportunity. And I know that you would probably be pretty connected. The guy's an engineer or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, perfect. Actually, I don't have a need, but my buddy Kevin does.
Yeah, totally.
Right?
Yeah,
I'm like, perfect.
sure.
And then we get my buddy that needed a job, a job opportunity. And that's how it all kind of trickles there. But it's been consistent feeding in that relationship. But how it all started, the reason why I bring that story up is because it tapped on the three ways of communicating.
Yeah, totally.
Started with that compliment of humor, really broke the ice from someone that absolutely is like, go kick rocks. I'm in the gym. Yeah. This is my space, right?
Yeah.
So where he wanted to talk
to me, my headphones are in, yeah.
We talked about the gym and like baseball and, all kinds of sports are a big thing for him. That was big.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the last thing that was pretty cool was the, obviously providing value. And it just so happened to be real estate. Yeah. But it doesn't matter. I mean,
it could have been something different at that time, but then you're like, no, but I have a guy that does this.
Yeah. At one point he needed some extra, horsepower on the sales side. So I know a guy that he's basically like the Navy SEALs for sales, so, companies will hire him in his team. They'll come in and understand the process systems, and then they tweak it, and then we'll go in and execute on the sales volume, and they'll train staff in doing so that way they can lead.
Almost like a consultant.
It's like a consultant on steroids.
Wow.
Because they're actually going in and actually doing the sales for it, but then also instill that culture as well as the processes on the sales side for these companies.
Yeah.
So for him,
amazing.
You know what I'm saying? And it's international too. So it worked perfect for his Australia businesses as well.
Yeah.
On the car sales sides.
Oh my gosh, that's so
You know what I'm saying? So that's what I'm saying. So like that's the thing is it's multi-depth, but that relationship has fostered so many opportunities, but it came from me starting with literally talking about his legs.
Yeah.
Right? I've literally sold multiple properties, but that's what I'm saying.
Because
that's exactly.
He's rocking calves.
He's rocking calves. Yeah. So anyways, that's the moral of the story of where I'm going. And those three things are the recipe to create opportunity. And what I do very, very well is create opportunity and provide value. And if I can figure out by doing so, like identifying, like through that system of communicating, I can identify those things that problem is. And I'm never going out, like, I mean, the real estate is a perk, right?
Sure.
If they want to buy real estate, that's great. But it's usually not real estate. It's usually like, man, I'm looking for a job, or hey, I'm looking for a good restaurant from out of state.
Yeah, totally.
I'm like, Cecilia Mia is fantastic, or like freaking, Via, or it doesn't matter what it is. But like, I know these business owners or whatever, and I try to always promote them.
Yeah.
It's been great. And that's why I try to shake as many hands. And for me, I have the most impact, or I relate the most with these entrepreneurs because they're the ones that create the opportunities.
Absolutely. And you're somewhat of an entrepreneur yourself.
Yes, absolutely.
By you doing that and creating kind of your own business of actually a book of business, really.
It
right?
is a huge book
you
of
have
business,
I've got people everywhere. You are creating your own brand.
Oh, absolutely. It doesn't matter where you're at. I mean, I got stuff in Costa Rica, I got the DR, it doesn't matter. You name it. If you need it, I can arrange it.
Brody's your
I'm serious. And it doesn't matter if it's a business. It doesn't matter if it's. It literally does not matter what it is. Yeah. If there's a need, I know I have a guy. For example, I was just brokering an opportunity between a venture capital group for medical device. Yeah. And my buddy that is a biomed engineer. He creates like medications and stuff.
Sure.
He's got a business partner that's trying to create something pretty substantial, and they need some horsepower. And I'm like, well, that's pretty convenient. I got a guy that's financing, biomedical product. That's what he does. And so I broke that up.
You probably met him at the gym. Who knows?
It's kind of funny that you say that, but I did meet him at the gym. But that's what I'm saying. That's the opportunity. Yeah. And so you create these opportunities. But you've got to be putting yourself out there. You put yourself in the path of opportunity. But then when the opportunity arises, you need to be able to capitalize. Yeah. And so the way that you do that, or the way that I do it, is through resources or other people.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what I do. Yeah. That's my superpower.
Well, and I love that, and I love that you said that too, because last week when Tessa was on, so him and Tessa are cousins. She basically said her mantra, if you will, kind of her word of advice that she left behind was something similar to that. Is basically how does she word it now? But basically, put yourself in the position of success.
That's exactly right.
And that I feel like that's kind of a Smith mantra. The family side. That's kind of, we talk about that a lot, but it's I mean, how can you not listen to this and feel so motivated? Like,
oh, dude.
But that's how I feel. Is I feel like I've always got a person. I love my people, and that's how I always feel like too. Is I'm like, I just am genuinely interested in people, and I love to get to know them, and I love to connect. But for you, I mean, that's literally, it's made you who you are now, right? It's made your career of something that you never really thought you would do.
Well, and the more you invest in the people, well, like I said, I mean, the more that you invest into the people that, especially the ones that you support and love, it makes it easy. But the more you invest into people, the more opportunities that come out of it.
Yeah.
That's the secret sauce to it all. If you can invest into people, indirect will come back. It always does. Always does. You don't know when.
So many good quotes for this podcast. Just spitting out these quotes, no big deal.
I mean, that's what I like to do. I feel like, I mean, I have big, hairy goals like that are way out there that would be really exciting. But when it all sums down to it, what I want to do, and I want to leave a mark on mass impact.
Sure.
That's my aspiration and goal, and how that is, I guess, quantified or anything like that. That's going to be kind of interesting. I don't really care too much about that. I'm more of just like, what can I do to have the most amount of impact? And I find that when I'm around people that have influence and I can provide value to that, it expands the opportunity that much more.
Yeah.
I think that's one thing, but it doesn't matter if it's the plumber, the janitor. It doesn't matter if it's the freaking venture capitalist. It doesn't matter if it's private equity. It doesn't matter if it's a pilot. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It does not matter.
Everyone can provide value.
Oh, yeah.
For something.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like, and it's crazy where it takes you too. Yeah. I mean, I do have this imposter syndrome all the time. Like, we literally did this. This is right before Christmas, the week before Christmas. Mm-hmm. I mean, I brokered I scheduled an opportunity. Basically, so I know the vice president, like he's basically the operator of the bank. Okay. He owns the banks, or like he's head of legal counsel for a local bank, and it's pretty solid, company
situation.
Yeah, it's pretty solid. Mm-hmm. Okay. And then a tax guy that deals with really in-depth tax strategy for the messier the company is, and the bigger, and like all the it gets pretty messy.
Basically, like webbed.
Yeah, web. The more web it gets, the better it is, right? Wow. And that's where his expertise comes in. He's not like your typical. He's not a CPA. I mean, he's a licensed CPA, but he's not like.
Yeah, but he's probably like
it's more like tax partner. Sure. That's the way that I'd look at it.
Yeah.
Totally different lens, totally different. It's very much like Rolls Royce, where they don't market.
Yeah.
It's very much word of mouth, and only has an extremely high level.
Friend of a friend of a friend.
Friend of a friend, and it's very, very high aptitude individuals work with his services, right? And I knew a buddy that needed those services aggressively. He's a developer, and he's scaling a lot faster, and he's got multiple ventures. And I'm like, what systems do you have in place? He's like, I don't. I'm kind of just winging it. I'm like, all right, this is what we need to do.
Girl, hang on.
I'm like, so I made a phone call to my guys. Yeah. I'm like, what are you doing for financing? He's like, well, we're working with this. I'm like,
hang on.
And he's like, tell me what his rates are and stuff. Yeah. I'm like, I almost wanted to throw up right there. I said, this is absolutely not okay. You should not be paying this. For you to be able to attain what you want to attain is absolutely impossible with what you have going on.
Sure.
You will never have the systems, processes, tax strategies, any of that to be able to achieve what you need to. And then on top of that, the muscle behind it, the finance, it's working against you.
Yeah.
And so I set up an appointment where we literally flew in his helicopter to go up to this appointment.
Oh my gosh.
That I set up with this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we land in the private airspace, and like the president of the bank is, picking us up in his car.
You're like,
you know what I'm saying? Like, and we're like walking in this. It was definitely an imposter syndrome. Like when you step, when you go to planes and helicopters, it was definitely next level. So it was a pretty cool experience. Yeah. But from that experience, I mean, hundreds of millions of dollars are going to transact out of that. And we're talking about possibly,
well, I'm sure your friend is just like, thank you so much. Like, I'm so grateful for you. I'm so grateful that.
And that's where the value proposition comes into play of like, it doesn't matter what you need. It doesn't have to be real estate necessarily. It's like whatever you need. If I can figure out a way to provide value to it, sometimes there comes with the financial gain, but 90% of the time it doesn't.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that it comes full circle around because it doesn't.
Because it's not, if it's not financial gain now, it will eventually at some point come back to scratch your back.
It does. In fact, I was working on a property and he was willing to sell it for, because of the relationship for a pretty good deal.
Yes.
And he's like, you've invested into me. I'm willing to
invest into you.
Exactly. Wow. So, I mean, my clients were the benefit of that. But,
sure. Absolutely.
So anyways, we're kind of all kind of like comes full circle as I think if there's anything you can take away from me is probably that formula.
Yeah.
Lead with complimentary humor.
Yep.
Establish common ground immediately, and then third and final is provide value. It doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah.
To provide value.
Yeah.
If you can do that effectively in any engagement, it doesn't matter. I mean, yesterday I was at Subway.
Yeah.
And the guy's name is Sebastian. Just one random guy. I walked in there, didn't have his name tag on there. I'm like, I haven't seen him in 6 months. I'm like, Sebastian, how's the husky doing?
Yeah.
Loved it. He just melted. He's freaking amped, and it was like it's one of those things.
Well,
you can just invest. It doesn't matter where it is. Jamie, that checks like that. I go get my daily Red Bull from. Yeah. She's the one that checks me out at the
gas station. Yep.
She's freaking rocks, right? And making sure she's doing okay. It doesn't matter where it is. If you can just invest in your community and make sure people are taken care of and look out for others, and you figure out ways to provide value.
Yep.
And that's the way I communicate. It doesn't matter where it's at. I use the same level of communicating for the most elite level individuals to down to the most simple. Yeah. And it doesn't, and if you can figure out ways to provide value to any of these people, you're going to be highly, highly useful. And people are going to be excited for the opportunity to be able to help you out.
Yeah. Because
usually,
you help them out. Yeah.
Yeah. Usually for me, it's not me necessarily getting serviced. It's me providing a service for someone else because of the relationship I have with them.
You're connecting.
It's exactly the connecting piece.
Yeah.
So then I make 2 wins with one when I invested into this. If that makes sense.
Well, and I think too, because we do need to wrap up, but because I know you have a job to do. I have children to run.
Yeah.
But I think it does come full circle because a few months ago, I mean, one of my first people that I had on the podcast was Emily Emmerich, and we talked a lot about friends and connecting with people and stuff like that. She's the one that she works at BYU, but that's where it does come down to, like, we just genuinely love people. Oh, yeah. And like, I know we said that before, but when you genuinely love people, it makes everything in your life easier. Mm-hmm. From providing a service or whatever, or just being genuine, or I don't know. I guess what I want to leave it with is, we always say, like, leave a place better than you found it.
That's exactly
and leave a person better than you found them.
Absolutely.
And I feel like it totally encompass everything that you talk about, where you're making those connections, you're connecting other people, and people remember how you made them feel.
That's exactly correct.
And that's
like,
exactly. I don't know. I feel like that is, if I could like simplify everything you said was already like a really good, like, specific quote and simplified, but just leave people better than you found them, and you will. I don't know. You'll never be not happy. Like, I feel like that's the secret to it. That just is literally that contains. That's the secret to happiness in life. I feel like in your job and everything. You don't have to enjoy what you're doing every day, but if you enjoy the people around you, or making these connections and again leaving people better than you found them, then your cup will be full.
That's exactly right. Yeah, that's exactly that. Well, that allows you to have the sustainability. It's like it's not a sprint. It's marathon.
Yep.
That allows you to have the stamina to be able to get through to the end. Yeah. In my personal opinion, whether it's your career, because you have people like, I'm burned out and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's unacceptable.
Absolutely.
I'm like, you're thinking too much about yourself.
Yeah.
I'm like, you got to give more. If you can give more, that's going to give you more fuel to be able to pursue or push through, especially when it gets hard.
Yeah. Well, honestly, that's why even doing hair. I mean, I've been doing hair for 20 years. I don't enjoy the art of doing hair. I love my people.
That's exactly
and that is what keeps going me, is that I'm like, oh my gosh, I get to see so-and-so this week. I get to see so-and-so this week. Like, or, in 2 more weeks, it's this person, or like, I gotta like be thinking of like, this is all the stuff I want to ask her about from the last time that we had talked, just like you 100%. And remembering things about people, like the husky, and about your lady at Winco or whatever. It's being invested in people. So
I'm telling you, that's the secret sauce. That's the secret sauce to it all. If you can do that, you're gonna have high level of success. Now other people have different approaches. That's only my approach, but it seems to work. Yeah. So.
Well, hey, give it a shot. That's all we can say at this point. But thank you so much. I love you so much. I love Mariah so much.
Yeah.
Like I said, we really have the best people around us. We have a pretty amazing family.
Oh, that's for sure. Just have a good time with it.
I know. But we'll see you guys next week on Time to Process. Hopefully you listen or watch. But actually, I would love to maybe have you back even in like 6 months.
Oh, I'm down.
And let's just kind of see what happens market-wise, or if people have questions even. But I'll put all of your information on
that would be
my
great. I'm
Instagram page, and
wherever I'm here to help on multiple facets. So if you need anything, obviously real estate's obviously the lane of expertise, but it doesn't matter where it is.
But
like,
you do have people.
I got people.
If you just send him a DM, you're like, listen, I need such and such. He'll help you out.
I don't care if it's ice cream. You tell me what you need. Like I definitely have the answer for it. If I don't, I'm less than a degree away. So.
Yeah, perfect. I love it. Okay. Well, thank you again so much.
Yeah.
And we'll see you next week.